You are still rolling your foot with a ball to help with your plantar fasciitis? Ditch that tennis ball and I will show you why your heel pain may not be getting any better and how your lack of hip internal rotation may actually be the culprit to causing your heel pain. Heel pain is such a common injury. If you are new to my channel and want to learn more about heel pain, you can check out this video here, which seems to be my most popular video to date. But in this video, I want to take a different perspective on helping you fix your heel pain permanently by not just looking at the painful area, but also looking at the potential source for that heel pain. In other words, in this video, I want to help you address the root cause of the problem by simply zooming out slightly and figuring out what else may be causing your plantar fasciitis rather than only focusing all our attention onto that painful heel. Working as a physiotherapist who specializes in running and lower extremity pathologies, it basically means that I see and work on a lot of feet and ankles clinically. What I have found in my clinical practice is that a lot of people who come in to see me with heel pain or plantar fasciitis may also have a restriction in their hips, specifically into hip internal rotation. I like to use the analogy of a game of tug-of-war when trying to explain why the range of motion of your hip is important when addressing your heel pain. So let's dive into this analogy, shall we? Like a game of tug-of-war, our heel bone acts as the center point of the tug-of-war rope. On one side, we have the Achilles tendon, and on the other side, we have the plantar fascia. When you have plantar fasciitis or heel pain, it means your plantar fascia is injured. So more often than not, that plantar fascia becomes thicker and thereby can become more taut and tight. So when one side, in this case it is the plantar fascia of the tug-of-war rope, is pulling and tugging hard, the other side, which is the Achilles tendon, has to give, or your plantar fasciitis or heel pain would get worse because there's no room for those forces to go when we weight bear on our leg when standing, walking, or running. Because you're probably already rolling the bottom of your foot and stretching your calves, this is not the video where we will cover something you're probably already doing. If you want a video that goes over the simple strategies to help with plantar fasciitis, I will link that video up here for you. So go check that video out first if this concept is a bit foreign to you. In this video, however, we want to zoom out and look up our kinetic chain to look at what our body needs and does to absorb the forces when we are walking or running. When we first take a step, we push off with our foot. And to push off with our foot, we need hip extension. And to achieve full hip extension, we also need hip internal rotation. And this is where the benefits of these exercises that I'm about to show you come in. So here are my top 3 exercises to help you loosen up your stiff hips so you can get to the root cause of the issue and fix your heel pain permanently. So the first exercise is the banded hip distraction with a hip internal rotation. So with this exercise, what we're trying to do is to help you access that hip internal rotation by using a thick resistance band, because this is going to help to improve your mobility of your hip joint. So the first thing you're going to do is attach the band to something solid, because you're going to be needing to tug it and it's going to stay stable on you. The band that you want to use is those pull-up bands that you typically see at the gym. You don't want to be just using these light resistance band because you want to be working on your joint mobility with this. I like to have something to cushion my knee when I do this. The first thing you're going to be doing is with the band, pulling on your hip laterally. So you're just pulling your hip from the outside. Try to go into that hip internal rotation as the band is distracting your hip laterally. So you can do this actively, get into hip internal rotation while the band is pulling you that way. So you can first do 10 reps actively with your own muscles, and then you can also do so passively. That's the first way to do this. And then you also want to get into this position here. Now the band's going to be pulling your hip joint back, and you're going to want to do the same thing. First, you can start with active into internal rotation, and then once you've done 10, you can do it passively. So you don't want to be pushing into pain when you do this. If it's painful, gradually ease into this. But essentially what we're trying to do with the band is that it's distracting your hip joint away from its socket so you can actually get more space into your joint so you can access that hip internal rotation a little bit better. So that's your first exercise. Try to do both variations with the band pulling it sideways and also with the band pulling it back, and do about 10 reps for each of those, and then we'll move on to the second exercise. So the second exercise is the hip 90-90. This exercise is going to help us get into external rotation and internal rotation. Same thing, external, internal. But what's different about this one is that we're going to add in an internal rotation lift, isometric lift right there, and you're going to hold it. Because sometimes when you don't have internal rotation range, it could be also because your internal rotators are also weak. To access the range, you also have to train your internal rotators a bit. First, get into this, and then you're going to lift and hold for 8 seconds. And then come down, and then lift it up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Come down. So you want to do 8 reps, 8-second hold, and same thing on this side. You want to try your best, if your hips aren't too stiff, to keep it on the mat if you're able to. 8 reps, 8-second hold with this exercise. So the final exercise we have that's going to put it all together is the staggered Romanian deadlift. With this exercise, we're going to access that internal rotation range and put it all together after accessing it with the distraction and accessing it with your isometrics. So to do this exercise, you're going to want to be doing a Romanian deadlift. But this version is called a staggered, so then you can concentrate on one leg at a time, getting yourself into that internal rotation. So staggered Romanian deadlift with a twist actually. So when you're coming down, you want to slightly rotate your body towards your working leg. So when you're coming down, you want to rotate your body towards your working leg. So that's your internal rotation. You're going to think about 3 points of contact on the foot. Push through the ground, squeeze your butt to come back up. Rotate towards the foot. Push through the ground, come back up. This exercise has a lot of different components to it, so if you feel like initially it's very tricky, feel free to just start the exercise with a staggered RDL without the rotation, because even this, if you know how to do this properly, you're getting into a slight hip internal rotation as well. So make sure when you're doing this, your back stays straight. You don't want to make the mistake of rounding that back and then lifting back up by pulling the weight up. So this one is a tricky exercise to do. Be careful with it when you're doing it with weights, and always start with lighter weights in the beginning and then make sure that form you have perfected. So make sure you have good technique when you're doing that. If you have trouble with this one, I can make more videos regarding a Romanian deadlift, and then we can go over form and technique in depth in a later video. But with this one, if you're confident with your form, feel free to perform this one. And I usually like to prescribe 3 sets of 10 for this exercise. If you learned anything new, please hit the like button below to support me and my channel so I can keep posting new content for you. And if you haven't yet, feel free to also subscribe to my channel so you would get notified when I post new videos each week. Thank you as always for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Is it a game of tug of war or tug-o-war?
Tug of war.
Okay.